Jackson trying to escape and run for it, and he's got it and more. Lamar Jackson down the sideline. Will they give it to him? They will. Touchdown, Baltimore.
And with 1:17 left to play on Wild Card Weekend, the Hayes in the barn.
Oh my God! I wish you guys could. I wish we had a camera in here so you could see what we're doing. We're just a bunch of clowns in here.
How much fun is that?
All right, welcome on back to another edition of the Baltimore Beatdown podcast. It is Tuesday, April 6th. My name is Jake Luke, joined on my screen by Spencer Nathaniel Schultz, whose breasts are sore, apparently.
Got some sore titties, hit chest real hard yesterday. Haven't done any big boy weight on chest in a while. And I'm chicken tender right now.
Nice. I've been meaning to get back into doing that. I got these dumbbells and whatnot that I ordered ever since these times became less certain and I stopped going to the gym. So I'm probably have to get back into that. But I've been doing the running thing relatively consistently. I feel like my knee is going to fall off, so might have to get that looked at. But yeah, it's interesting. You know, I cut the beard. I'm getting back into doing that kind of stuff recently. So yeah, it's strange, interesting time of the year, time of the calendar for me. Big allergy guy that hasn't really kind of yet. So it's interesting. It's one of my favorite times of the year, though. I love the spring.
Allergy boy season, I didn't even think about it. I didn't have allergies for a long time. They've been smacking me in the mouth the last 4 years, and I forgot about that. Thank you for saying that. I'm gonna go to the store and re-up on Allegra, bro.
Yeah, you need that Allegra, you need that Claritin. Can't take it every day, but it does help when you're in a serious pinch. So I probably have to re-up on that as well at some point. But how's everything else going, bud?
Doing well, dog. Feels good to have some warm weather and get out and about and make some plans, and vaccines are going out and about. So hopefully secrets will be filthy this year. Yeah, definitely. Well, that's going to be quite the scene. I got to be honest. I don't know what that's going to look like, but it's very exciting. Yeah, recording this here on a Monday night, April 5th, like we mentioned, getting really into the meat of that spring part of the calendar. It's also Masters Week, so very pumped about that. But we're not here to dilly-dally. We have a Beatdown Big Board episode to fulfill for you guys. As we mentioned on the last pod, we kind of do these once a week on Thursday night, but a little scheduling conflict. We're kind of back to the way we did the pod before with remote. We're going to try to get back to doing them in person, but this week we kind of had to do it a little bit out of sync to what we had been doing. So recording this here on a Monday night before we release it on a Tuesday, and today we are covering interior defensive linemen. We're getting into the big boys. I think the Ravens they're in a good spot for this year, but they have a lot of uncertainty moving forward, and it's tough to really rely on drafting guys to make an immediate impact. And, the Ravens typically have a pretty complex front that asks a lot of their defensive linemen, and it's tough to be like, all right, well, you'll just draft somebody next year, something like that. And of course they could go out and grab some free agents. That's something certainly something that feels like it's in the cards for next year. Brandon Williams in the last year of his contract. Who knows how that'll play out after this year? I believe Calais Campbell's in the last year of his deal. They have Derek Wolfe for this year and one more. They have Justin Ellis, and then, of course, Justin Madubuike, who is up and coming, and I believe is going to have an outstanding year. It definitely will be a talking point after the draft of looking at how Justin Madubuike can keep growing. But ultimately, it feels like the Ravens need a contingency plan at nose tackle possibly, and that's what sparks these debates always of, should they have cut Brandon Williams for $7 million and, have $7 million in dead money, or what is he worth and what should he be paid, and all this different kind of stuff. But the big counter argument to that is always that, when he's out, the Ravens really seem to struggle to stop the run. And while that can be a little anecdotal, considering it's like, Nick Chubb had an 80-yard run and that kind of elevated those numbers in one of those games, things like that. But they don't have good depth. And I think that's a reason why they definitely struggle when Brandon Williams is out. They don't have a good backup nose tackle. They don't have anything in the wings aside from 3-tech right now with Madubuike. So Broderick Washington as well, I forgot, but not someone
who had a little bit of a legal situation that we've kind of just completely glossed over this offseason.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I forgot about it too until you kind of started mentioning some of these names. And I think it's interesting because you hit on some good points there with some of these guys. Brandon Williams still going to be in the mix, obviously. And it's a position group that they like to invest in. Like, no matter what it looks like, they like to always kind of have bodies in there. They draft guys, and whether it works out or not, like, they pick like a Carl Davis, a Chris Wormley, and like it doesn't work out with some of these guys, but they just keep throwing darts at the wall with this position. How confident are you that they are going to look to do so in the draft again this year?
I'm pretty confident. Broderick Washington arrested in Arlington, Virginia, and charged with felony destruction of property, tampering with a vehicle, 5 counts of misdemeanor destruction of property. He was arrested after police received multiple reports of a male suspect breaking into vehicles with a metal object. Maybe something was stolen. It kind of sounds like something might have been stolen from him and he was looking for it or something drunkenly. I don't know, from what I gather, but not a great situation there. Aside from that, a guy that Emory Hunt, friend of the show, really loved in Texas Tech's 3-3-5 defense. I thought he had a nice little value there, but it felt like he didn't find a home position-wise last year in his limited playing time, so maybe not someone they can count on. But yeah, you mentioned it. I think going back to the last time the Ravens didn't draft a defensive lineman with one of their picks was when they drafted Pernell McPhee. I think that was the 2011 draft, maybe?
2012, I think. Maybe 11.
One of those two. And he was a defensive end in college, so wasn't sure there. So that's the last time they didn't draft someone for the defensive front, aside from an outside linebacker type. But I think I'm pretty confident. I think they will definitely pick somebody there. I think with Justin Ellis, Broderick Washington being kind of, okay players potentially. We haven't seen the full extent of Broderick Washington, hopefully, in terms of what he can do on the field. Hopefully his legal situation cleans up. But I just feel like it's a good draft to add someone that could sneak through in the second, third, fourth, fifth round. And especially there's a couple nose tackles that are intriguing in this draft. And the Ravens do love getting guys from Samford and, where did Brandon Williams go to school? Southern Mississippi State or something, some crazy school like that. Southern Missouri State?
I think it was Southern Mississippi.
Something of the sort. So they do love the small school guys. They've had a pretty high hit rate on some random, UDFAs and things like that at the position, but they invested a decently high pick in Matt Boyke, who felt like was a definite BPA meets like future need situation. And he's a guy that had a lot of second round buzz. So pretty confident that the Ravens will invest a draft pick in someone to play 5 tech, 3 tech nose, something of the sort this draft.
To a typical fan that kind of just watches the ball is sort of how I like to, describe people that, and this includes myself a lot of the time, people that are just kind of watching as a fan. You just keep an eye on the ball, whereas with more people that are kind of looking at it more in depth, you're kind of watching the trenches a little bit. And I feel like you're, a trained eye in that regard. So to that typical fan that watches the ball like that mainly, how would you kind of describe what makes a great D-line prospect and some of the guys we're going to be talking about here?
First step explosion is huge. Being able to win. I mean, a lot of reps are won and lost one step in, and that goes right into shed ability. Being able to stack, meaning, engage both hands, hand placement, striking the chest plate, striking the shoulders, grip them, gain control, lock out with length, and then to shed. My favorite move when I'm writing, I tweeted this like last night. When I'm writing a scouting report for a defensive tackle or a linebacker or anyone who has to deal with a ton of blocks, at some point I will probably write needs to push-pull more, would benefit a lot from push-pulling more frequently. Push meaning lock out with your arms at full length, and then just using your triceps to rip an offensive lineman, use their momentum against them. Shed ability, something you see a lot of the time, something Brandon Williams is pretty good at in the run game, being able to be explosive with that first step and then get guys off of them. Calais Campbell obviously can do that as well. Nose tackle, you're looking for somebody that isn't going to let double teams get to the linebackers, plain and simple. If there's combo blocks, you want someone who's not going to get moved easily. The technique, there's basically 2 schools of thought on how to take on a double team. The first one, pretend like the second guy, the down blocking combo guy who's going to move to the second level does not exist. Attack that, square blocker as fully as you can, completely ignore. And usually that works for kind of the really hefty guys. Then the other school of thought for some of the slimmer guys at times is to try and twist to a quarter, the direction of the double team, and then drop your inside knee to the ground to gain leverage and get better pad level and take it on that way. And someone in this class we'll get to, Davion Nixon. He's a little bit more of a finesse type player. He is a bigger body. He weighed in a lot bigger than I expected, but he seems to benefit from the latter, from that corking, twisting kind of motion. So being able to take on those. Disruption, generally, is it someone who fucks shit up? FSU. Do they blow up plays consistently? Christian Barmore, he is not a super – I don't think he has a strong feel for run concepts yet. He's a young player. I think he was a redshirt sophomore and is like 20 or 21. You'll see some zone concepts. He's slow. He doesn't quite get it. But when you take account, if you start tallying the FSUs, how many times he blew up a play, holy crap, he kind of reminds you of Chris Jones. If you watch a couple games, you're like, all right, wow, over the course of a game, he's blown up 8, 9, 10 plays kind of. So you see that impact there. Hand use generally, are they able to keep themselves clean? Stamina, is it someone who's, winded, wearing down late in games? That's why a guy like Elaine Mcneill, we'll talk about, one of my favorite guys in this entire draft class. Fourth quarter, goal to go. He's in there. He's 320 pounds, and he is still getting FSUs. He is still keeping himself clean, able to wear guys down. Play strength, mismatch meaning one-on-one. Are they just generally too something for someone? Are they too strong, too quick, too overall athletic, too technically refined? Are they too violent for one person to consistently take? And then body control. Are they falling down a lot? You don't want defensive linemen always ending up on their butts or always ending up on the ground. You want them to stay upright and able to make the offensive linemen be the ones to fold. So those are all some things to look through, especially for nose tackles. And if you're looking at someone who's more of a 5-tech, motor, a little bit more agility, bend a little bit, some of those kinds of things. But generally some similarities there all around. Ultimately, guys got to be able to take on blocks, get blockers off of them, and blow up plays.
Shout out to Daniel Ricardo. At what point do you know that a guy is like a better fit for defending the run versus defending the pass? Because like watching, some of the Brandon Williams sort of the reception around Brandon Williams and like the type of player that he is really shift over the years, where like it feels like he came to the league in 2013 when, defending the run felt like it was a very important thing. And a lot of people think it still is important, but it definitely feels like it's kind of shifted. The zeitgeist at least has shifted against that a little bit. And, he hasn't been as warmly received for that reason. So like at what point do you think, or do you, know whether a guy is going to be a better fit versus the run or versus the pass in scouting them? Is it kind of just right away it clicks, or does it take like a lot of watching?
It can take a lot of watching, especially in college, because like I was watching Davion Nixon, and you play a team like Nebraska, who's like a spread, quick passing team. It's not going to run between the tackles a lot. You might not know if you just watch that game whether they're a great run defender or whatever. But when you watch, 4 or 5 games of a guy, and you kind of start to pick up 2 things, both for Davion Nixon and Elaine Mcneill, guys I probably watched the most tape of any of these guys. Number one, do teams run the ball where they were when they're out of the game? When Elaine Mcneill goes out, all of a sudden teams start running at the A gap. Number 2, when they're on the field, do teams avoid running where they are? Those are 2 kind of easy ways to figure out whether the other team respects someone. Then the third is, are they in the right place? Do they seem to be, in control a lot of the time? Are blockers moving them, or do they seem to just generally have control of their blocker? Are they getting, do down blocks, or do pullers, or do whams or traps or counters, send them spinning, send them out of the play? Kind of understanding and identifying. Davion Nixon, a guy who, when there was a motion on a play, if he was unblocked, he is getting the tackle every single time. Understanding where the ball is going, that I think just speaks to film study very much so. And people like to use instinct or natural feel. So I think a lot of it is more so film study and understanding formations and alignments and splits, particularly of offensive linemen. Are they tighter split? Are they wider split? What does that mean? Where's the tight end? Those kinds of concepts. So then I think just, can be able to control shed blockers and be free, or it's occupy blockers. A guy like Brandon Williams doesn't make a ton of tackles, but he's going to take on double teams. He's going to prevent guards or centers from reaching and getting to the second level and blocking Patrick Queen, blocking Malik Harrison, blocking those guys. So a couple aspects there, but it's there's the FSU guys, and then there's kind of the more controlled guys, and some guys are both. And the guys that are both are the real dangerous ones.
Who is the gold standard to look at? I mean, I guess Aaron Donald is probably the easy answer, but who is kind of a guy that you look at as like the North Star for some of these prospects is the last one that I had for you.
Well, Aaron Donald's tough because he's an anomaly. So I don't think he's a good – it's kind of like the Patrick Mahomes thing that's going on.
You can't even compare anyone to him.
Right. It's like it feels like because we've seen Aaron Donald, because we've seen Patrick Mahomes, who are so special and talented and have such strong football awareness and intelligence that you start wanting guys to be them. But then you have to look and think, there really has never been another Aaron Donald. So maybe that paves the way for some guys. You know, I think Justin Madubuike.
Well, there is another Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if you heard about this guy, Zach Wilson. You heard of him?
Oh yeah, the Mormon Mahomes, baby.
That was good.
Anytime, any place, except for in the old bedroom.
Oh well, listen. I mean, there are ways around that.
There are. Tim Tebow knows those all too well.
We don't have to get into a soaking discussion here if you want to continue with the point that I just derailed you off of.
Continuing on, I think the gold star guys right now. I mean, I think Fletcher Cox is a really good example of someone who's powerful. I think Akeem Hicks is. Both of those guys have kind of more. Fletcher Cox maybe not. He's a freak athlete, but like Akeem Hicks, someone who's just powerful and overbearing and is able to create pressure through strength and hand placement, create disruption, and get after the passer a bit. I mean, Calais Campbell, man, he's been one of the best run defenders in the NFL for half a decade, consistently one of the best for a decade. And over the last 5 years, like he gets PFF's Run Defender of the Year and all kinds of stuff like that. Looking around, who else? Geno Atkins. I mean, I guess guys it is starting to trend in the direction of being a little bit smaller, being a little bit more disruptive. Grady Jarrett, another one. All those guys are a little bit tinier, so maybe we are trending towards the Aaron Donald likes. And when you're looking through this draft class, a lot of the guys are kind of like 6'2", 6'3", like 290, 300. A lot of them ran sub 5. So maybe, as the NFL is getting a little smaller and speedier, I think the defensive linemen are too, matching that. I think Casey Hayward is one for sure. He is a technical beast and plays with a ton of strength. He's not like a slow player at all, but I think he's been someone who's consistently dominated over the last couple of years. Who else are guys to look at right now? Along the interior, Chris Jones, that's a really good one. I don't know. I didn't think of that. I'm looking at list now. DeForest Buckner right now. I think Chris Jones. I think if you ask these guys who they're watching, I think you'll hear a lot of Chris Jones, actually. I think I have heard a lot of that as the draft process going and interviews go, and you hear, which players you model your game after. Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, Cam Hayward. Yeah, those guys.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Jones, kind of a mid-round guy, if I remember correctly. So I think it's kind of nice to hear that, maybe I don't want to say the devaluation of the position, but maybe you can kind of find some of these disruptors a little bit later, which actually leads us into our two categories, which are the gunkers and the disruptors. So the gunkers are the guys who fill the space and stop the run. You like that?
I like it a lot.
Cool. So who do you got in the gunker category? Your run stuffing, face filler type guys, space filler.
The first guy is my favorite defensive lineman in this class by far. I'm looking at the Draft Network right now. I kind of look at their lists. It's easy and has a simple interface when we're listing guys. Yeah, he's their 84th player. I think he's their first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. He's like their 7th or 8th interior defensive lineman. I think that is a bad miss. To me, he is the best run stopping defender overall in this class. My favorite stat in this draft class is Elaine Mcneill. He has the number 1 bounce rate in all of college football and this draft. Well, of course, then this draft class for the 2021 class. Bounce rate meaning the number of runs that were designed at his gap and the running back ran to a different gap. So the play was designed at the A gap and went somewhere else. In 2020, the bounce rate of runs in his gap was 49%, so almost half. That meant every other time the play was designed at the A gap, he was probably in such a dominant position when the running back had his eyes there and got the handoff that they went somewhere else. He is consistently 2 yards upfield, consistently. The first couple snaps of games, he dominates so incredibly much. I think it's because he shocks centers. He played zero tech pretty much exclusively, like zero meaning nose to nose, face mask to face mask, head up on the center. He shocked them so badly that they like had to come back and double for a little while. And then centers kind of got a little better. So you start thinking, oh, he's a big dude. Does he wear down? No. In the fourth quarter, he brings it even harder than he did in the first quarter. Like if you get goal to go against NC State in the fourth quarter, he is 2 yards upfield almost every play, and double teams straight up melt off of him. He is like the classic Chris Collinsworth is going to mention this 20 times in the next 10 years. Is that Elaine Mcneill was an all-conference running back and linebacker at over 250 pounds in high school. There's highlight tapes of him juking guys and stiff-arming guys, and he's fat. He was fat in high school, and he was just straight booking past guys. So maybe not fat, but just gigantic. But he was also an all-conference outfielder at over 250 pounds. So he is a classic Chris Collinsworth guy.
I'll tell you what, Al, his ability to track a fly ball in the open field with people jeering down at him, really something else to see. Speaking of Collinsworth, Renner has him as his number 2 guy on this list I'm looking at here. He says a little bit raw, but like it's not like in a bad way. Like he's raw in that he can probably develop some more moves, and he just wins with like freakish athleticism, it sounds like.
Yeah, I see him as he's my number 1 guy. I like other guys for sure, but being a big, strong, dominant nose tackle that is so good against the run, and then also presenting upside in the pass rush, like they would loop him around the outside a little bit, and he has these like quick freaking feet, and it's like almost a cartoon because he's so gigantic up top. He has these quick little feet, and he's scurrying around the outside, pushes the pocket really well. He's not long. I think he has like a 78-inch wingspan, 79-inch wingspan, so not good length, but like nose tackles are shorter than that. But he doesn't have like quarterbacks can kind of get away from him because of it, and like running backs can get away from him a little bit just because he's not the longest guy in the world. But he is a mean SOB around the goal line, especially, and that's what I love. That's where it's like all the guts and glory are on the line. That is the trench warfare, is when the offense goes tight, there's no room between the linemen's feet. They've got tight splits, and they're coming downhill, and you might get a little play action over top, but 3/4 of the plays are just busted up their butts. And he dominates in those situations, and that's where I think you can really tell if someone has explosiveness and technique. I mean, he straight up will like forklift guys, will have both of their feet off the ground. He has a violent shed. He will toss guys. He will push, pull, and shed very violently. Like you're watching, it's fun to watch his tape. And if it's fun to watch a nose tackle's tape, they're really fucking good. Long story short. So he is definitely a gunker to that degree.
We're really hitting the Collinsworth here, but I will never forget the butt fumble when he described Vince Wilfork as forklifting Brandon Moore's backside into Mark Sanchez's face. So that's maybe a good comparison.
There we go. I think Vince Wilfork was like so I thought about that at first. I was like, he does remind me of Vince Wilfork a little bit, but then I'm pretty sure Vince Wilfork was like 350 pounds.
He was huge. Yeah.
It was like obscene, and that's why Hard Knocks was so funny when he was doing his little rootin' tootin' cowboy thing and the overalls and stuff. But yeah, he is a large man. I seriously didn't see him. Teams would be able to kind of run outside a little bit and get him to start moving, and then the center would let him win initially and then kind of wash him out just a little bit. But if you're running downhill at him, you're not gaining any ground. And I love him. I love him. He is a certified, put a stamp on it, #my guy for me. So he is a certified gunker, but I think he's a better pass rusher than a Brandon Williams. So he stayed on the field on 3rd down. He got pressure. He got some quarterback hits, ended some plays. I don't think he's ever going to be a 7-sack guy or anything. You know, maybe you're getting 4 or 5, and you're pretty happy with that, I think, because Brandon Williams, you're not. So, yeah.
Very cool. Who else you got in that category?
In that category, I didn't really, for some reason, I really didn't feel like watching a ton of him. Tyler Shelvin from LSU. He was at LSU just straight 2-gapping, straight eating blocks, and busting up run plays, very strong, not very mobile. He was a 5-star recruit, and I had written down for him that he is, has a straightforward report. He isn't a dynamic run defender simply because he's big and strong. He knows how to disengage. He knows how to finish. He knows how to hold ground, and that he played with a lot of urgency. He's going to be in a role where his job is for Patrick Queen to make tackles, is for Bobby Wagner. Like, he is the linebacker's best friend. I didn't see his pro day, didn't see a measurement. I didn't try too hard to look it up, but I'm pretty sure he was listed at like over 350 at around 6'3". But he's impressive, an impressive specimen as well.
It's funny you mentioned that, because Renner absolutely nukes him in his last paragraph on him here. The biggest worry with Shelvin isn't even on the field, it's in the kitchen. Shelvin's weight has fluctuated wildly throughout his career and was reportedly up to 375 pounds before opting out this season. That's not going to fly in the league.
No, it will not. Michael Pierce, the Ravens fans know that very well. There is being a big boy, and then there is being undisciplined and not in shape. And if that's the case, Renner would know a hell of a lot better than me, more plugged in. But big boy who makes his presence known, made Patrick Queen's life very easy at LSU at times. So if he's opting out and he's up there, could see him falling very far in this draft.
Nice. Who else in the Gunkers?
Tonga. Chris Tunga out of BYU. He's tall. You can tell he's tall, but he is a pretty wild nose. He's got the FSUs. He plays with an okay pad level. Another mismatch guy, another mismatch problem. Centers are going to have their hands full. You're going to have to give centers help with him. He is, maybe someone who's more of a one-gap player than a two-gap player, and is kind of a shaded one-tech a little bit more. But he is, stiff, very, very, very strong, but not super. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's because there's just so much motion to his game. You kind of see him flailing around a lot. It looks like he's really fast and active, and he has that kind of Polynesian fire to him. As I love Polynesian football players are the best. They have the most hustle. They have the hardest determination. They're always just the best, especially defensive ones. But he's got a hell of a ball rush, and he knocked down a crack load of passes. He's long. He's going to be a guy who I could see playing 8-10 years in the league and moving around a bunch, playing on a bunch of different teams, just being like a mercenary run stuffing guy after his rookie contract.
Nice. Yeah, I'm a fan of the Polynesians too. I'm glad you threw that in there. But who else you got?
Bobby Brown, Big Bobby Brown III, played with Justin Matabuike. It would be interesting to see if the Ravens took a Texas A&M defensive lineman 3 years in a row. They are 1 for 2 on those being hits. Bobby Brown kind of wears out. I think he played a lot of snaps, and people don't talk about that. Like, he didn't come off the field enough, it seemed like. So you see some real plotting snaps from him where it's not like as disruptive as others, but he gets a lot of pressure. He wrecks a lot of stuff. He blows up run plays. He is enormous, an enormous gentleman. He just looks gigantic on the field. And Texas A&M produces good defensive linemen. Makes plays, man. Plays against the run. But you do see a lot of lackadaisical pass rushes or slower pass rushes or stuff like that. And it just feels like he should have been taken off the field more, and they didn't like their depth enough. And he's probably going to be a main first and second down guy, but I think he can rush the passer well. He has some explosive plays. Sack production is something that seems to translate pretty well to from college football to the NFL for interior defensive linemen. Edges a little bit, but for interior defensive linemen, it's a lot better indicator, it feels like, or there might be a little bit stronger correlation. And I'm pretty sure, I don't have his stats in front of me, but I'm pretty sure he had decent sack production. What do we got here? He had 5.5 sacks in 2020. So for a gigantor, that is good production, and you like to see it. So I think those are the big boys. There's also a gentleman out of Arkansas whose tape I haven't gotten yet, who apparently I need to watch. He's been getting a lot of late buzz, but I'll get on there later. I think we're going to do a show where we circle back and basically it's talk about players that we like that we didn't talk about on these shows.
Yeah, for sure. Zierlein talks about Bobby Brown as a Tim Settle comparison to help kind of provide some color for anyone curious, which I like Tim Settle a lot. He's kind of just a guy that was around for a while, had a nice little career, says he's a good backup who could become a starter. Anyone else in that Gunker category?
None that I watched. There's a lot. It feels like there's a lot of good noses in this draft. Those are, the run stuffing types. Then there's also a lot of those like 6'2", 6'3", 290 to 305 pound guys that are a little more finesse. So there's not like a ton of complete players, it feels like.
Okay. So I guess in that regard, perfect time to switch on over to the other side of the equation with the disruptors. Who do you got here? I
actually, you can put Levi Onwuzurike as a Gunker. He actually is kind of complete. He was a nose tackle who is like, I think he's sub 300 pounds, tested well. He got hurt at the Senior Bowl and only got to play in like 1.5 days, but absolute dog, tons and tons of disruption. He has get off, explosive push. He's plays a little bit too high, and like he'll try to win with explosion over hand placement at times, so he'll get washed out a lot. But when he knows it's a run situation, he's really strong. He has good leverage. He just has a really violent kind of thrashing play style. Washington has some great, really disciplined defenses, and I think Levi Onwuzurike is a player that is going to be starting. I think he had decent sack production as well, 2 sacks, 3 sacks, 2 sacks. He ended up opting out of 2020 there, but got a lot of tackles for loss, some sacks. Violent, strong. He's stronger than he looks. Like he'd look as violent as he is, but he'll get into the backfield, man. They've got some guys out there. Elijah Molden, Onwuzurike, Joe Tryon. They've got a proud defensive history, and I like Washington. I think everybody likes Washington defensive prospects because of it.
I know I do. And Renner writes, he wins with explosiveness, but that's almost exclusively how he wins, which is a worry. He needs to gain the upper hand immediately, or else he often fails to recover. NFL offensive linemen are far more athletic and far less likely to get themselves into positions that can be exposed at the snap like that. We saw that happen when he faced a talented Oregon offensive line back in 2019 and earned only a 51.3 overall grade. Onwuzurike still needs a plan B.
I think that's true, but I also see discipline against the run. So I think it's just trying to get him to control some of those pass rushing reps a little bit more. Like I feel like he's a good leverage player. And when he knows it's a run situation, he plays under control. And when it's a passing down or a known passing situation, he kind of only goes for that 4-seam fastball when he has a little bit more leverage to his game and could win a little better. So I think it's kind of getting him to control his fastball, as we referred to on another episode, having the control on the fastball there.
That kind of feels like a Ravens prospect. A bigger guy from a bigger school kind of wins with that athleticism type, at least at this position. So, yeah, that's an interesting one for sure. Is that all we got in the Gunkers then? Or are we moving into disruptors officially now?
Oh, no, he's a disruptor. He's a disruptor, but he plays against the run well. So he's definitely a disruptor. Davion Nixon, I have written down quick, fast, natural in space. He has quick sheds when offensive linemen try to reach him in pass pro and there's a little bit of a runway. I had the double teams move him. I mentioned him earlier in the show. Double teams move him, and it felt like he was experimenting with trying to take guys on square versus dropping the knee, like I said. And when he dropped the knee, he seemed to do a lot better. But the Baltimore Ravens do not drop knees against double teams very often. I've heard that, and I've rarely seen it. His better reps, I wrote, came when he dropped a knee and torqued through. He is a karate fighter. I think he has some pass rush, karate black belt hands. He has a really interesting way of it seemed like there was a lot of reps where he was tasked with contain a little bit more so, just controlling the center, getting after quarterbacks if they tried to step up and scramble, which he did very successfully. He has this like cat-like baiting thing where he just kind of bounces left and right. He has really great lateral quickness, especially for his size. His size was way bigger than I thought when he weighed in his pro day, but he just kind of bounces left and right that way that a center or a guard can never really get him square. And then once the quarterback kind of settles to which direction they're going to step up or if they're going to scramble, he is a cat. He works one-on-ones really well, and he'll keep kind of prodding side to side until he either finds a soft spot or he ends up seeing where the quarterback goes. Really great in space, great explosiveness, great quickness. His hands keep him free. He very rarely lets guys, especially in pass rush situations or passing downs, get a full man. You're supposed to try to pass rush, only giving an offensive lineman your half, your right half or your left half. That way they can never kind of solidly stop your full momentum. He does that to a T. I wrote down that he can be unspectacular as a one tech in power downhill run game, meaning kind of when those double teams hit him and stuff. But I don't think he's going to be a one tech in the NFL. I think that Iowa just put him there. I think he's more of a three tech, kind of five tech, mainly a three tech player. So maybe redundant with Matabuike there a little bit, but I think he could play some five tech, and not the end of the world if you have two guys who can play three tech. But he if you don't block him, if I saw teams try to, I think it was Northwestern tried to hit him with two whams, saw them coming immediately. He's really great against zone concepts. He sees them coming. Motion, he like knows where the ball is going so well. There was 2 plays against Northwestern, 2 plays against Nebraska, and 1 play against Michigan State, I think. The motion starts coming, and he literally just starts moving down the line the direction the play is going. Before the ball is snapped, he knows where the play is going. So clearly smart player, film study, all that good stuff. But he makes a lot of plays in space. Also, in that Northwestern game, he got listed as having 1.5 sacks. I tallied 3 sacks that were just him. It's college football game. That's why like college statistics are strange, because it's some like grad assistant kid or some like kid who's in college putting down the stats kind of. And that's why like working at SIS was very eye-opening to that. Like for the NFL, it's usually pretty spot on. But in college, like he had 3 clear sacks. So he should have had like 7.5 sacks last year, not 5.5 or whatever it was. And who knows with that. But I like Davion Nixon a lot. And I think he has a lot of room to grow playing in a 3 tech position as opposed to a 1 tech.
Yeah, he's a guy I did watch a little bit of, and kind of the first word that jumps to mind for me was playmaker, which I didn't have much of that thought when watching some of these other dudes.
Exactly, had that written down as well. Makes plays, straight up. Him and Christian Barmore, the next guy I'll talk about, they get pressure, make tackle for losses, get quarterback hits, get sacks, tip balls, playmaker. Good word to describe both those guys. Barmore is a tough evaluation. He's young. I wrote down, don't think he has any clue what he's doing with his hands against the run at times. Tons of room for growth because of that. Splash plays, then late and slow reps, then more splash plays were the first 2 lines I had written down. Overall, not really getting technical there, but like some reps against the run, he just gets completely washed out of the play. He's late out of his stance. He's late, doesn't seem to know where the ball is going a little bit. Then other reps, it'll be weird option reps that look like they're really complicated for him, and he just kind of clubs somebody out of the way and blows up a run play. He reminds me of kind of a mini Chris Jones. He's not quite as tall, or Chris Jones is probably lighter than him, but he's not just like as hulkingly gigantic in the defensive line. I had that he very easily creates drive to push the pocket in. His bull rush, specifically his long arm bull rush, are his baseline when he's kind of figuring out where the play is going. He uses it to establish control. He has 34 and 5/8 inch arms he measured at his pro day. So that long arm bull rush is awesome. I think that needs to be his trump card a little bit more, and it could get even better, but it is already damn good considering I think he's 21. He's probably the best pass rushing interior defensive lineman in this class. On third downs, he's explosive and can be unstoppable. He, in all asterisks, wins cleanly and takes the quickest path to the quarterback. He has a club arm over or a club rip, or he'll arm over and then rip. He will get his foot, like seal pass. Like when you're playing basketball, you're supposed to try to get your hips in front and your feet in front when you're trying to drive the lane. So that way you establish yourself to the basket. And he does that as a pass rusher. He wins very cleanly, like clean. I'm going to annihilate the quarterback, get a sack, get a quarterback hit. He blew Justin Fields up because he won cleanly once. He is a high upside pass rusher who has skill there already.
Yeah, from what I did see of him, seems like a total Saban guy. And I think Renner says here the concern with Barmore is that he had some meh games this past season, and his game-to-game effectiveness doesn't match those elite numbers. However, he did show up when it mattered most and utterly dominated the 2 best interior lines he faced all season with 12 pressures in the 2 playoff games, like you just mentioned there. So yeah, he's DT1 on that list. He's probably the most impressive guy that I think I watched of the few that I did get a chance to, and it sounds like you're pretty high on him.
I'm pretty high on him. He is what you pay for. The interior pass rush. That is like the quickest way to have a dominant defense is to have interior pass rush, and I think he is going to give it endlessly. I think it's like, I don't want to use the word motivation, but it's either like he is just not quite sure of himself as a run defender at times, but there's a different urgency from him on third down. I think he just likes getting to the passer better. I think he likes sacks. Like he enjoys rushing the passer a little bit more. So maybe getting him to be, more consistent or more motivated against the run. I don't know. I don't think he's not a hard worker or anything. I know nothing about him, so I'm not insinuating that, but fuck you, Dan Orlovsky, while we're on that topic. But getting him to play the run the same way he plays the pass.
That was my Dan Orlovsky.
Ooh, I threw 18 interceptions at UConn. Oh,
here's the thing: Sam Darnold is going to be a Pro Bowler in Carolina.
He'll be like top 20 quarterbacks. He'll be all right.
Listen, I'm excited for that move, but
very excited.
It's
going to be fun to see whether he's good or not.
Yeah, that's a good the excuses are going to be whittled away here.
Right. But yeah, Barmore, a little under 6'5", a little over 310.
Let's get a baseline here. What is the earliest he could go in the entire draft?
I think he could go really high, and I say really high, meaning like 15, 16, 17, 18, something like. Don't tell me the Raiders wouldn't take him. Like
that's a Mayock pick for sure.
Mayock likes Clemson a little more, but like I said,
big school guy, like great athlete, just like
his best games came in the most important ones.
Yeah,
he is a great athlete. I'm sure he was a 5-star or 4-star. I didn't see that. He originally committed to Temple. And after redshirting, I don't know. He originally committed to Temple. That's all I saw. But yeah, he moves all around the front. I think he's versatile. I think, like I said, you want to pay. The tickets are sold for interior pass rush from NFL GMs. They want to take their tickets at the arcade and exchange them for interior pass rush. And I think he's already giving you that. He played 1 tech, he played 3 tech, he played 4I. I think you could get effective 5 tech reps from him. He wasn't quite comfortable there. They did it occasionally, but I think there was a good raw ability there from what I saw. I think, 15, 16, 17, 18, I'm not shocked if a team is just like, we want that interior pass rusher. We think that we can get him to grow and be more consistent. Someone who, I don't know a lot about as a person. I just know what I've seen on tape. So if someone really likes him and he's a hard worker, I think he'd go really high.
Cool. Who else you got?
Disruptors. Who else did I have? I think that might have been it.
Nice,
Milton Williams. I had Milton Williams.
Yeah, Milton Williams. I just like his name.
Good name. Definite good name. He is the Zach Wilson of defensive linemen. He is we were talking about it earlier. He is the Aaron Donald type. He was a defensive end. I think he gained 50 pounds during his time at Louisiana Tech, I read. I might be wrong there, but I'm going to pull up his RAS while I'm talking about him. But he only has 31.5-inch arms. That is the only downside to his game. And the thing is, I think players who know they have a deficiency somewhere, a limitation or a deficiency, and you can already tell that they're aware of it and they've already worked past it, is very important. And those are the guys that are the outliers and the exceptions. And he makes sure that he gets control of your chest when he is rushing the passer because he has short arms. He is very deliberate with getting his long arm into your chest. So he's 6'3", 284 pounds. He had a 9.96 RAS out of 10. So I imagine he's one of the, what is he listed as? DT? He is a D-end. So as a D-end, he is one of the 10 best testers ever. Ran a 4.67, 1.65 split. He had a sub-7 3-cone at 284 freaking pounds. 4.33 short shuttle. Had a 38-inch vertical and 34 reps on the bench. He does have short arms, so that helps. But that is crazy, those numbers. So you are getting an explosive, strong, fast, technically sound disruptive, angry, violent player who there was a moment against UAB. UAB has been running away from him, but pounding the ball on the other side of the line, pounding the ball, running it right down Louisiana Tech's throats. I think it was either second or third and short, and they ran one gap over from him, and he just forklifts the guard out of his face, grabs the running back, slams him on the ground, and it was like Godzilla freaking, and he was just screaming and talking to them for 30 seconds, and you could just tell he was so annoyed that UAB was having success running the ball downhill, and he couldn't get in on the party, and he was like straight beast mode on that play, and he would not stop jawing for like 30 seconds. It was awesome. So I like him a lot. Incredible athlete. Arm length is something that if you're aware of it and your game isn't dependent on it in college, that is a player that can succeed despite. I think Terrell Suggs had 30.5-inch arms. That's why his freaking biceps were so huge, I'm pretty sure. But again, those are the anomalies, so it's hard to kind of bank on them.
Okay. Yeah, and we know they like their Louisiana Tech guys for whatever reason, so they'll probably be looking at him. Unadulterated wrecking ball that attacked without hesitation is a sentence that's really jumping out to me regarding him. So I like the sound of that a lot, and I like his name a lot. Milton Williams. Milton Williams. And let's see his production. Because again, I've read it quite a few times and it makes sense. It's pretty much, causation isn't correlation, but if you look at all of the guys in college or in the NFL who play interior defensive line and have sack numbers, they all had at least like 7 sacks in college. Is something that's been floating around for like 2 or 3 years. He had 10.5, and he had 5.5, and then 4.5. I think I mentioned earlier, BYU completely avoided him at all costs, double teamed him, ran boots with Zach Wilson away from him. So it was the Aaron Donald, Patrick Mahomes game, and Patrick Mahomes Jr., Zach Wilson won that one. But he's an anomaly type, but a guy that I would be very, very happy to take in like the 4th or 5th round with his RAS, with his production, with his traits, and knowing that teams were kind of passing on him, small school guy with shorter arms. I would be ecstatic to take him in the 5th round. Very cool. So is he your last guy? He's my last guy. Nice. So I guess it's time to jump into the guys we are going to select to seed into the bracket. Let's do it, baby. Nice. So it sounds like, are we going to put Barmore in here, or is he going to go too early? I don't think he's set in stone to go too early, but like this is my way too meta, way too like pseudo bullshit take. That he has awesome traits that NFL teams are going to love. A lot of people in the media have watched all of his tape and found an inconsistent player, but his consistencies are rushing the passer, and someone's going to take him by like 25. And also not a strong defensive tackle class overall. There's no dominant player. Some teams draft for need. Someone's going to be like, that is what we need to be better right now is a defensive pass rush presence in the interior. So let's put him on there. Let's put him on there for fun. So he'll be our A. I'm assuming you want Elaine Mcneill on there. Absolutely. So that'll be B. Then let's go. I guess let's put Milton Williams later round. Okay. We'll put Day. He could go in the 2nd round. He just tested out of this world and has some production. So we'll put like late day 2, early day 3 or something for him. Sure. And then let's put, I guess it would be both of these guys are getting projected as like one gap, and everybody loves to act like the Ravens don't run one gap concept like stuff on defense when they do. They do run even fronts and stuff. So I guess then it would be either Davion Nixon or Onwuzurike. But I don't think they've ever drafted someone like Onwuzurike. And Nixon, Iowa. They love Iowa. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. They love Iowa. And we both put that he was a playmaker. So let's go with Davion Nixon. Okay. All right, so we got A, Christian Barmore, B, Elaine McNeill, C, Milton Williams, D, Davion Nixon. What should I put for Nixon's round 2. Let's put round 2 for Nixon, and for Elaine McNeill we'll put 2nd to 3rd round, and then Williams we'll put day 2, day 3. Okay. Then we're breaking it up a little bit. We're getting a little. We started off kind of stock. Now we're getting a little funky, and I like it. I like that a lot, actually. I like some stonk picks, but yeah. So quick update on the competition so far. So we started out with Edge. The winners of that poll was Jalen Phillips and Aziz Ojolari, going to be seeded into the bracket. Taking a look at tight ends. I didn't circle it. I think that was Stonk. I think that was Pat Fryermuth and Brevin Jordan.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay, so we'll say that for now. Reserve the right to correct that. But go ahead and circle those two bad boys. We have here third offensive line. I also didn't circle that one yet. I think that was Creed. Creed Humphrey ran away with that as like the top.
Yeah. Everybody, Baltimore needs Creed Humphrey. Everybody loves him.
Yeah, he's probably the most like popular.
Him and Rashad Bateman.
But that's
those
probably
two.
The other one. But Creed, even going back like
we have to put them on opposite sides of the bracket because that would be a hell of a showdown.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I'm going back to offensive line. This is great radio by me. See if I can find that.
I can't remember who it was, to be honest. I can't remember who we had on there. That was a little while ago.
Yeah, it was Creed, Jalen Mayfield, Landon Dickerson, and Wyatt Davis. So let me see if I can find that poll. Just gets lost in all the mailbag shit that I throw out there, which is fine. You know, it is what it is. Creed Humphrey and then Landon Dickerson was the second.
Nice. I like that.
Yep. Okay. Moving up to safeties. So we had an interesting situation where Richie Grant kind of ran away with it for the safeties, but the second slot was tied by Trevon Moehrig and Andre Sisco. So we made the executive decision to just seed Moehrig into the bracket. It feels like it's probably going to be better for the overall contest. So that is where we are at as far as the competition right now.
He's also been mocked like a ton to the Ravens. So I think he's just better for the contest.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, for sure. So that's probably going to be the right decision there. And for the poll that we're going to be shooting out tomorrow, again, that's going to be Christian Barmore, Elaine McNeill, Milton Williams, and Davion Nixon. Nice episode, bud.
That is a good episode. It's a good list, good episode, and the bracket's going well so far. Let's so what positions do we have left? We obviously have receiver, which we've been saving. Are you ready for receiver?
I've been looking at receivers since the regular season. Like I wasn't doing much scouting.
I know.
Yeah, I wasn't doing much scouting at all, but receiver is going to be a great episode.
Are you I'm saying, are you ready for that? Do you want that now? Or should we do, what else do we have left? What? Linebacker, linebacker will like glaze over. I haven't watched a ton and I don't really feel like it. I watched so many last year.
They drafted two of them last year highly. So
and they brought back Board and Fort and they have Welch and they have Alaka.
Yeah. I mean,
if they drafted, I would think they would draft one day 3. I think they, there's maybe a 60-40. They'll draft one day 3. Like,
yeah, I would do receiver.
All right, let's do receiver next week then. That'll be the coup de grace of our Baltimore Beatdown big board.
Very cool. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, we really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was a fun one on our end for sure. And go ahead and vote on the poll when we shoot it out. You can find that on Twitter at Podcast Beatdown. As for our other socials, you can find me at Jake Luke. That is LOUQUE. And Spencer is at Ravens for Dummies. That's the number 4 in the middle. And also check out our main page at Be More Beatdown, where we're tweeting out all sorts of good stuff and doing a nice job with that. Also follow us on Instagram at Baltimore_Beatdown. And check us out on YouTube as well if you want to get video versions of the show. I've been making a little bit of an effort to get the aesthetics of the YouTube page all together and get some more content on there. I think YouTube's a nice platform. It's fun to play around.
Give us those 5 stars, baby. Give us those 5 stars.
Yep. Head over to Apple and give us a 5-star review if you're listening on there, and leave a nice or 5-star rating and leave us a nice little review in there if you were so inclined. But in the meantime, we will talk to you guys again later this week. Going to be hopefully getting back to our in-person 2-episode per night format. But until then, I think that's going to be a Friday release. So we'll talk to you guys then. And in the meantime, you have yourselves a great week.
See ya.
Arrivederci.
Gorlami.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci. Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.